Hey guys, how's it going? This is going to be a little bit different, this one, because it's not really going to be completely structured. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty much make a short cinematic sequence of a ship flying, and there's not really going to be any kind of you need to do X and Y then Z sort of thing. It's just going to be me giving a commentary on how I go about making a scene and kind of what's going through my mind. And I'm also going to give you guys a little look at some of the previous stuff as well that I'm using. As you can see down here, I've got Premiere open with the previous for this scene, and I'm kind of with this one I'm kind of filling in the blanks a little bit. So before I get started, I'm going to do a little bit of a tour around the set for you so you guys can see what I'm working with. This set I blocked out, and then Fiendish went in and worked on the skybox and the lighting and some of the particle effects that we see around here. It's a debris field with a couple of derelict ships in it and a derelict station and some other assets here that need sorting out. And what we're going to be doing is animating a ship that comes from this javelin here, around here, and then it's going to kind of just fly in a fairly straight line from one end of the station to the other. So I'm going to open up the track view, and I'm going to create. I've made a new track view already called TV for track view Aurora Flight 02, and that's in the track view layer here under cinematic. And I'm going to add a director node. Okay. I'm going to minimize that for now because we don't need it. And I'm going to add another node. I'm going to call it. I'm going to make a group. I'm going to call this cameras. And I'm going to make another one as well. I'm going to select the parent Aurora, which is over here. So you can see it's pretty much exactly how it was in the ship setup video. It's just a parent, and underneath the parent are all the attachments for the stuff inside it. And all of those are frozen, so I'm going to add that. And I'm going to get started. So I've already set the cinematic to be at 45 seconds. I'm going to use that as a start point. And I'm going to put the Aurora where I want it to start. I think it's auto saving, which is why it's freezing. It does that occasionally. There we are. So I'm going to put this guy over. Oops. Yeah, so I'm just going to put this guy over in yonder, so make sure recording's on. I'm going to keep the grid off, I don't need it on for this. And I'm going to kind of place him about here, because I'm animating this in context, so looking at the previous, this is what I've got. So I'm going to mute this. So I've got the ship kind of flying down here, and we've got another shot from inside the Javelin bridge. And then I kind of want to... I'm using some Blade Runner stuff as previs here, so I'm gonna actually reverse these shots. So I've got it says here, accompany and flyby lit by searchlights, from front of Aurora to back. So we're looking, the camera's in front of the Aurora and we're looking back. So that's what we'll do. So what we're gonna do is animate the Aurora from about here, and then I'm gonna animate it going down there. So maybe about there, and then you can animate him going all the way back there. Nice simple straight line, but we want the path to kind of be at least moderately interesting, so maybe we'll just bring him down here and let's just see how fast he is. So you see he's actually really slow, so I think what I'll do is bring the time here down to 30. Again, this isn't really an instructional thing, this is more almost like a commentary on how I'm actually making these. So technically I can do this as a live stream, but I don't have the bandwidth for it at the moment. Alright, this is kind of one of the shots I'm going to want. Alright. Yeah, so maybe just shorten it a little bit more. That might be better. In fact, you know what I'm going to do actually? I'm going to move the station I haven't parented it to anything yet. That's fine. Make sure all those are shut off. And what I can do here, if I move the station, it just means I've got a little bit more wiggle room, so you can fly a little bit faster. So just over here. In fact, I'll turn on grid for this. Yeah, about there. Okay, cool. So I'll put this right back at the end of the sequence, and disable selection on there, and then enable selection on the ship, and on the track view, and on the cameras, because I'll need those eventually. So when we're here, I'm going to just select the Aurora, and then bring it forward a little bit. So we're giving him, you know, quite an interesting path. So we'll fill out this area with landing pads and stuff eventually. I'll just switch off the grid here. And then up there. Okay. And we'll fix that dipping as well. There, so about there. I don't want him to descend yet, but I'll kind of put it there. And then bring us back there, because I like to have a little bit of a lead. So if I play it back, see it's actually going at quite a... It's still relatively slow, but this isn't going to be a fast-paced scene, so this will work okay. Right. Now I'm going to go in and refine the movement a little bit. So what I've got here, if you can't see this, go to View and Curve Editor. I've got the Curve Editor open. And we're going to start doing some stuff with it. So the first one I want to modify is the Y. So I'm going to kind of just more or less have the velocity pretty much constant. And then what I'll do here, this is on the Z axis, I'm going to just have it like that. So what I'm doing, I'm just modifying the handle so that the flight path changes to something I like. Maybe there. So again, I'm probably going to say this loads through this, but this is not a... This is how you do X, Y, and Z tutorial. This is kind of a how I like to go about making a sequence, and I'm just kind of giving a commentary on it. Okay. Right. Cool. Now set a... Is there a set keyframe button here? I don't even know. Oh well, I'll just set a keyframe and stick it on 0. Okay. And now, I'm going to go into rotation. Let's just check. So I kind of want it, it's more or less flying in a straight line, so it's an easy enough one to do. That's fine. Maybe go to the next key. So every major position key, I'll just modify the rotation so it's kind of accurate and then go in and fix it. I also want it to slalom a little bit. The slaloms look cool, so you will slalom. Slalom. It's a nice word. Slalom. Just move that way a little bit. So what I'll do, I'll put some more debris around here, so you can be slaloming from one side of it to the other, which will look pretty neat. In fact, you know what? I'll do that now. So what I need here are degree Starfarer and degree Vanguard. So I'm literally just going to go in. I'm going to grab Starfarer. I'm going to grab the Vanguard. And I'm going to copy paste. Slalom. So these are just the actual CIG prefabs. I've just kind of arranged them in a little formation. There we go. I'm just going to enable scaling of entities so I can actually see what I'm doing. Because the Aurora is really small in comparison to the Starfarer, so I do kind of want to show it off. Maybe have it show it off in such a way that we can see the interior as well, because there is a lot of detail in these things. Just put it there. And I can always edit the formations of it and stuff. Yeah, so it's gonna slightly slalom. Okay, there we go. So what I've done, I've just added a couple more little set pieces here. Just kind of based on where the Aurora is going to be. And then Phoenix can go in and make it look pretty and stuff. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to block out the cameras. So that's what I'm going to do. Just modify this a little bit so it's a little bit more. There we go, where it should be. So in here I've got a camera folder. What's that? Oh, that shouldn't be in cameras. Where the hell did my folder go? Oh, it's down there. So it's just thinking that all disappeared. I got very worried there for a moment. Must be a little bug. Okay, so I'll delete that. It's probably because that prefab was really big. Okay, so let's take camera uno. Gonna add that. Okay, so what was I doing? Yes, cameras. Camera. Alright, so I'm gonna go to camera and then I'm going to perspective, create a new perspective, and I'm gonna actually view it through the camera entity and set the resolution to 360p. And then modify it according to what I want in the edit. So if I play this back, this is kind of where I'm at. Right, so what I'll do is this. Where are we? Over here. So I'm going to bring this guy over here, and I'm going to actually have him go with the Aurora, which is going to be here. I'm going to set the field of view down to, I'll say 35. I'll go for something very neutral right now. Let's see how it looks. Oh, it's on Spotify. This entire thing is influenced very heavily by the soundtrack from Blade Runner 2049 because it's absolutely stunning. Alright, so that'll be good enough for now. I only really need to, for for this camera angle, I only really want to animate it to about there anyway, so I'm gonna just bring him back here. Right, so about here, maybe just bring it up a little. I'm going to add a little bit of a camera shake, though at the moment shake appears to be a little bit broken, so it's not good. I'll just put it over there. So the amplitude I'll bring up a little. The amplitude I like to have around 5 degrees, and the frequency I'll bring up to, ooh, not very high. Even 1's too much. Okay, cool. So that's one camera blocked out, so I'm going to block out camera number 2. Which is going to be... actually, camera number 2 I'm going to put in the cockpit, but I'm going to make a dedicated camera for the cockpit because there's some other stuff that's going to be considered for that as well. But I do kind of want a camera kind of coming down here, which would be around about there. We're going to have a landing pad around here, so I'll take camera 2. I'm going to add slice here. And I'm going to put this at around 10. Because we're going to be making a few time jumps, which is perfectly fine. Camera 2. There we are. Oh, that's a little bug that gets on my nerves sometimes. It's fine. You see here the FPS is brilliant. I love this when it works. There we are. So you can see down here, this is what the camera sees. But we're going to see, what I'll do, I'll bring in some nice lovely epic scenery that can be seen here, because this was, you know, there's a little bit of backstory to what we're seeing. Not much, but a little. Okay. And then I'm going to maybe animate this guy for 20 seconds. So we can see down here what he's actually going to be seeing. That actually looks pretty neat. And it does sell the scale a little bit. I'm quite happy with that. Oh, that's really cool. Alright, so that I'll probably bring up to 45. And I'll bring it back a little bit as well. So we're going to kind of be around here, because I do want to kind of sell the scale a bit. Oh, this is going to look stunning. I'm really looking forward to getting this out. That was a lorry outside. And that's a trend. Okay. So what I'll do here, I'm just gonna just extend it a little bit. Cool. And under here, there's going to be like a derelict landing pad. Not sure what height it's going to be at, so I'm going to kind of leave that for now. But what I'll do, I'll bring in a prefab, which is a version of iirc, and see if I can get it imported as a layer, and which will look pretty neat. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'm going to just modify the director node a bit. I'm going to put this guy on 0, and I'm going to select camera 1, and that'll just mean that when I press track view on here, it will show what the camera sees here, and then when we go to here, it will show me, and I select camera 2, it will show me camera 2 on the main screen. It's pretty neat. Okay, so for going back to camera 1, I think what I might do, I might set it to 40 degrees. And I'm going to bring this guy closer to the camera. So if I go down here, I'll just switch that back to camera 1. I'll set that back to default. So what I can do here, I can just, without the record button selected, I can drag all the keys and offset them all. Like that. Bring this up and just have them kind of look down a little bit. By a little I mean a lot. There we go. Kind of fisheyeing a bit, and I don't want it to do that. So that's kind of how it looks. So what we're kind of seeing here is the wreckage of the javelin is flying over. What I might do as well, I might put another javelin in this scene and have it set up so that these two javelins were kind of facing off each other. And I can throw some pirate markings on it and stuff like that as well, and additional debris from the javelin asset. And what I'll do when he's flying past here, I'll introduce another camera, and I'll have to make a new one, and I'll put it inside the actual ship here. Right, so what I'll do here, I'm just going to select a random camera, which I've got down here. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call this camera cockpit 1. And right now, I'm going to save, and I'm going to close the track view. Camera cockpit 1. And I'm going to find the Aurora, which is down there somewhere. It's just frozen because it's auto-saving, which it does sometimes. There we are. And I'm going to put it inside the Aurora. I'm actually parent it inside the Aurora. And what this will mean, it'll mean I can get some nice cool cockpit shots when it's actually flying. So I'll do a select and link, and I'm actually going to link it to the Aurora parent. Yeah. So that light, that's from a reclaimer thing, because This scene does have a reclaimer in it. Among other things. Okay, so I'll put it in there. I'll open this guy back up. Another thing I'll do as well. Don't know what that's about. Right, so another thing we'll do as well is I'm going to fix the character here, because as you can see it's a little bit bored, so I'm actually going to just give it a something proper. I called him Brock, but it's not going to be Brock, it's going to be someone else, just some randomer. I'll just make it a random deck crew guy for now. Okay. And add track animation. So that's 0. I'm gonna loop it, and I'm gonna just type Aurora. Cockpit idle. There we are. And another thing I need to add is the dashboard as well. But you know what I'll do? I'll create a new group. I'll call this cockpit. And then just find a dashboard, which is here. So I'm going to add selected entity. I'm going to do the same with the Aurora, but for other reasons, but I'll worry about that later. For right now, that can stay frozen. For the dashboard, what I need to do is this. I need to actually give it a dashboard deploy animation. And that'll look something like this, so just speed it up. Once an animation's finished in the track view, it will stay in the state it's in at the end of the animation. So in this case, it will deploy the dashboard here. Okay. Right. Cool. Now, what I'll do, I'll go maybe around here. Actually, about here. And I'll animate the next part. So I don't need that, don't need that. I need the camera cockpit, so I'm going to keep that open. But I don't need that open. I do need that one. Okay, here we go. So on here, I'm just going to kind of... This is going to be a bit tricky to do. It'll be alright. I should probably just reiterate again, this is not a tutorial, nothing like it. This is just literally just me giving a commentary on how I'm making the scene. That's more or less what it is, and kind of what's going through my mind and stuff. So what's going through my mind right now is this is the previs I'm using right here. So this is kind of my previs. So we've kind of got the opening shot here, and then some nice lovely cockpit shots. And that's kind of what they're doing there. They're kind of saying, putting across that, and then putting across that. And just the other details here. Basically just saying, you know, automatically flying, whatever that is, and LAPD. That's kind of the shot I'm going to be not recreating, but I'm using it as a sort of reference. So let's kind of go here. Don't need the cockpit stuff, I don't need the camera. You know what I haven't done? I haven't added the camera entity. That's something I should have done. Just say key here. I've got the recording switched on, so that's fine. Maybe 45. 8.5 would be alright. Maybe just I need to modify the CDF so the heads work properly, so they're not working right at the moment. But that's a very easy fix, which I can do anytime. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and position it so the focus isn't so much on the pilot, but it's more on what he's looking at. So it's going to be sort of a, almost a over the shoulder / point of view shot. So. Something maybe. As much as I want to see the Starfarer, it's not really going to be what I'm after. It's kind of more the station, because we're going to transition from kind of that, and that's kind of the front to back. That's going to be the front to back one, and then it's going to transition to in the cockpit, and then some other things. I'll need to actually properly render it out and assemble it to see what it looks like in context, and then shuffle things around, which can easily be done in the edit. But right now I'm just kind of playing and just seeing what I can do, what I can get away with, and just kind of thinking how it might fall into the context of it. Okay. The problem with doing it in ships like this is that every time you move the track, you need to shift, which is a bit irritating. But if I play it back here, so we can see pretty quick that the rotation is way too high, way too fast. So what I'll do, I'll just go in the graph editor and I'll just bring it down. And what I'll do here, I'll bring that up. And what I might do as well is I'll bring that down to 30. And what that'll do, it'll make it seem like we're not going quite as fast, because the lens angle isn't going to be as high. Alright. Maybe just slow it down a little bit. I can always extend the shot, because what I like to do with these is I have these set up so there's loads of cameras in each track view, but what I'll do is I'll actually render each camera separately, or have it in its own track view, and splice them together. It gives me a lot more wiggle room, so I can overlap if I want to. It's not a problem. Most of the time it doesn't show up. Okay, might just modify the X direction slightly. This is pretty neat. I just discovered this. It's actually giving me position relative to the parent, i.e. the ship, which is nice. In fact, that's very nice. I quite like that. Yeah, quite like that. Right, and then I'll just slow it down a little bit. Just just bring that back there. So I've got a little bit more to work with if I want to. And what I'll do as well is I'm gonna have the ship slalom a little bit, because I haven't actually animated the rotation yet. So I'm gonna actually animate the rotation of the camera very subtly on the interior. Can you see it's only a small roll we're doing? Very small. So maybe we'll go here. So I'm going to be interested in the Y rotation. So it's a very subtle roll. And then when we get to here, we're going to be doing the reciprocal. But this is going to continue, so we're going to keep the roll going until we get to about here, and that's where it's going to level off. And around here it's going to be the counter roll again, but it's going to be at its height, so that's going to be when we're kind of there. Cool. Alright, that's actually looking okay. Right, you know what, it definitely looks good for now. So if I play this back, we will see the ship roll. See, it's very subtle, which is what it's meant to be. Alright. Cool. Okay, cool. And then when we're doing that, I'm gonna have to keep that open there so I can reference it. Just going here. The camera is gonna roll as well. So when we're kind of here, but you know what? That actually looks okay. This is what I might do actually. Here we go. Do that, and I'll set another rotation key here. Bring it in line. And what that'll do. Save that. Want to unify the tangents, please? Where's the unify tangents button? That's not it. There we go. I like that. Those buttons were probably there before, but I like those buttons. Scaling doesn't mess up, which is nice. So you see that right there, what we're doing here, even though the camera's attached, we can actually simulate the roll a little bit, even though it's kind of exaggerate it. Just bring that down a little bit. There we go. So we kind of got a little bit of a roll going here, a little bit of a slalom. Maybe just bring it down a little bit. Oh, frozen. Also save. I don't mind it freezing like that as long as it's saving and not crashing. Cool. Alright, it's a little bit sharp. Just bring that there. Bring it back there a little bit. So the reason I'm doing that is so it's not a boring static shot, because you can be going as fast as you want, but if the camera's just attached to something and not moving, it's going to look really boring in my opinion. I'm gonna add a little bit of a camera shake, only a little bit, don't need much. If it was up to me, everything will be bringing Mr. B, brimming with a lovely lens flare. Unfortunately, not everyone likes lens flares. Just a massive shame. Lens flares are the bomb. So what we've done here is add a small amount of camera shake. So it's got a frequency of 0.5, so every 2 seconds it'll do a full oscillation. Which means you can kind of almost have it float if you set a high amplitude of the oscillation and a low frequency. It'll look pretty cool. But sometimes I don't actually know if it's working or not, because sometimes in Engine it's a bit of a bam. It doesn't, for some reason in Cry 5 it doesn't work like it should. But I set the amplitude to 2 maybe. Let's put it to 2, maybe that one. No, I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work and it's really irritating, because I love camera shape, I love it sparingly, because it can be really powerful, but it can also be really distracting. Alright, so that's pretty much that part of it blocked out. So the cameras are done and the ship is done. This is more or less the end of my part. But what I'll do is I'm going to attach some light. I'm going to check with Fiend to see what he's doing, because he's online at the minute. And I'm going to attach, next part I'll attach some lights to the ship and actually do a little bit of lighting work as well.